Kyle, guess what?
Another one.
No, it's another one, but we've made it. We've made it. It's Wednesday. It's the 31st last show of the year, and we have Steve Greenfield on for you because that is the kind of show that today deserves.
That's what it has to be. Yeah. When you think about turning the year in automotive, you think Steve Greenfield. That's the way that I say it.
Because you know what? The prediction game starts happening. The did I get it right game starts happening. And what a year it has been. A second half of the year went a lot faster than the first half of the year.
It did. That is for sure. And maybe that's because we have a SoduCon in the first half of the year, but I think it's also that I think the pace of this second half of the year from a political side of things, from a financial side of things, when you think about the EV tax credits, like it just made the second half of the year just roll through.
Yes, that's true. Well, we're going to continue on with our 2026 strategy sessions, basically taking some thoughts and insights from what happened in 2025 and orienting us toward 2026, what we should be paying attention to going right out of the chute. But first, we want to thank the show's sponsor today, Mia. You ever watch a customer get trapped in a phone tree? It's like you seeing someone wander into a corn maze you know they're not getting out of. Press 1 for sales, press 2 for service, press 3 to lose the will to live. And then Mia shows up. No menus, no scripts, no robotic pause pretending to transfer your call. Just instant natural conversation under 2 seconds. Fastest in the industry. She'll check inventory, book appointments, handle actual questions, and she integrates with 35 plus dealer systems. So everything stays clean and connected. We want to thank our friends at Mia for being the very last sponsor read
of the year. Wow.
All right. He's really the reason everybody showed up today. Let's bring Steve Greenfield into the call. Steve, it has been a crazy 2025, and I think it might only be crazier in 2026. How you feeling coming out of the year? You feeling like Rocky ready to go fight? You feeling like Rocky?
I think I need a couple of more days of hibernation before we're ready to go to Vegas for CES. But yes, what a year. And the years seem to go by quicker and quicker and quicker.
You know why? Because you're getting older.
That is probably why.
It's just 1 year is a smaller percentage of your life, right?
That's right.
Yeah, it was exactly. 1/10 of your life. Yeah.
But now it's like a rounding error. Now it's a rounding error. Right? Exactly.
I never thought of I'm so old that 1 year is just a rounding error. There you go. We'll get you that t-shirt. But coming out of 2025, so much has happened and developed, whether it's in the technology space, in the political space, in trade, all of these things. You've been paying attention to a lot of this. You've traveled all over the world in 2025. What are your big takeaways that come to mind right now? And how would you advise dealers and industry partners to be oriented into what we should be waiting for and prepared for in 26?
Yeah, I think it's mostly tariffs. I mean, Kyle and I were talking before the call here around EVs, but I think that the big story is tariffs. If we did rewind the clock, 12 months, Donald Trump was like brand new president, and we were all thinking, man, the tariffs. Well, there were bulls that said this is going to create a golden era of the U.S. and car sales were going to be higher than ever. And then there were going to be people like, oh, car sales are going to be down like by 2 million units this year. And neither's really happened. I mean, I guess the big story is, well, two stories. One is the auto industry is awfully resilient, right? No matter what happens. No matter what gets thrown at it, it seems like it's resilient. The consumers want to continue to own new cars, and everything trickles down from consumer demand overall, despite the fact that we're now at record high average new car prices, which are making affordability an issue. But despite all these issues this year, the consumers continue to buy cars, dealers continue to sell those cars. I think the big thing with the tariffs is so far the automakers have taken it all on the chin, right? They've absorbed literally billions, tens of billions of dollars of losses, and haven't passed through higher MSRPs to consumers, and haven't turned to dealers and say, hey, you need to share in the pain here, and effectively accepts lower margins on the front end. And that'll change this year. I think that'll be the big change for dealers to be aware of. It's like tariffs are going to create all kinds of dysfunctions, including for some automakers that they may not be producing cars that consumers want. We saw that with EVs in the last quarter. I think that the automakers are going to say now, well, there's two options here. Either I increase MSRP, which is going to make it even tougher for consumers to buy cars, or, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Dealer, you're going to have to share some of this pain with me and effectively just skinnier front end grosses, and dealers front end grosses are down considerably since COVID anyway. And I think that
great. What a great conversation that'll be.
Well, it's just like for a lot of the mainstream brands, we're back to like well before COVID era where there weren't any grosses. In many cases,
no grosses, high day supply.
Losing grosses. Yep. You're losing gross on the front end of a car deal for many of the brands, and like get used to that again. And yeah, luckily enough, it seems like dealers have learned how to attach more F&I products to the back end of the deal, and they've had cost discipline. And I think all of that's going to be very, very important going forward. And I'm sure we'll talk about AI too, but that's the big promise of AI is, really focusing on driving efficiency out of every single employee, which means you can get more done with fewer employees, which means you can be more profitable. And if dealers can be more profitable, it just allows them to be more resilient against all these exogenous threats that are going to continue to be out there, whether it's, front end grosses getting squeezed, whether my OEM's going through bankruptcy, whether they're not building cars that consumers want, whether I'm stuck with EVs on my lot, whether day supply go up, dealers need to worry on their controllables, what they can control, not really worry too much about what they can't control. And what they can control are things like which used cars I stock, can I attach more products to the back end of the car deal? Can I drive more parts and service?
How am I training my people?
I think one of the conversations, I want to pivot this just a little bit, and we won't do the full NADA shopping show yet. I don't think we actually did that last year. Maybe we should this year for once.
That sounds like a good idea.
Nathan, put that on the schedule. But as we go, especially to an ADA show, and you've been a massive proponent of AI-driven efficiency in the showroom and service, thinking about that technology, you're obviously very close to the technology landscape with Automotive Ventures. What's now we're getting more to like practical application, use cases being divulged, people understanding what the efficiency gains are. What are the focus mechanisms that dealers should have around AI specifically in the dealership?
Yeah, so I mean, it all starts with which metrics you want to drive this year, right? So I think don't even go to NADA until you are convinced with your executive team, we're going to try to drive PVR, front end gross, back end gross, whatever it might be. We want to increase the dollar amount per RO. We want to increase customer pay work in fixed ops or whatever it is, right? I mean, I don't operate dealers. I think it's dangerous for me to even talk about metrics like this, but start with the metrics you actually want to drive, and then use that to figure out which vendors you want to talk to. And you talked about our sponsor today, Mia, for example. They did an incredible job for their dealers of answering phone calls. Now, no phone calls get dropped. They get answered 24/7, and dealers see demonstrable benefit from that.
Mm-hmm.
For a dealer that wants to drive more efficiency and is frustrated around, the quality of the leads that they're handling and the volume of the leads that they're handling and drop calls, go talk to Mia, right? I think that start backwards from the metrics you want to drive this year and use that as your filter to figure out which types of vendors you want to see. And then if it's attacking cost structure, great. If it's trying to drive up the number of sales per salesperson, that's great. If it's trying to drive BDC efficiencies, but that would be my one piece of advice, because we should do a pre-NADA show here in the next month. And I always worry that dealers get on that show floor and they just like get overwhelmed with the sheer magnitude of vendors.
Oh, count on it. And what you just said is like, you even talking about the things you can control. The strategy going in is one thing you absolutely can control. And so like, let's go to the show and see what's new will be a failing proposition.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because you'll spread out, even if you have a team, everybody go look at something different, right? That's not going to go well either. And so I think that that's just very practical advice in a market where there's so many new things. Pick a lane where you want to make improvement, you want to see improvement, and then focus on the industry partners that can help you solve that problem. Pivoting to industry partners, you work with a ton of entrepreneurs, a ton of companies in all stages, technology companies in all stages in mobility. What is your advice to them going into 2026? What are investors looking for? How can they be best positions to kind of like ride this new technology wave and not get crushed under it?
Yeah, I think it's all about having an AI strategy. You don't need to have on your website that you're an AI company, although VCs are chasing AI companies right now. Something like 2/3 of all VC money is going into AI companies. But I think it's a bad day if you get on a call with anyone, a customer or a potential investor, and they ask you, well, how are you using AI today? and you are like a deer in the headlights. I think you have to be thinking about how you're going to just use, a logical amount, practical amount of AI to start automating things internally. If it's customer facing, great, but it's a bad answer. And that would go for like the CEOs of Coca-Cola and Amex too, right? I mean, you can't be on a quarterly shareholder call with Wall Street analysts and not have very finely articulated AI strategy. And it's so ubiquitous now. We're all using it in our day-to-day lives, and we need to know the implications overall. Investors want to hear, how are you practically going to roll out your own sort of phased approach to using AI internally, and then hopefully also build it into your product stack and the customer experience that you're building as well. Whether you're selling B2B or to consumers, how are you going to weave AI in to benefit the customers overall?
Yeah, it's not a matter of should you, it's how do you is the question that people should be asking.
So startup, there's always a pitch deck, and I'm thinking in my mind, it's like, make a little internal pitch deck to teach your team, and even if it's a small company, there's only a few of you or even yourself, framing that out in pitch deck brevity in what your plan is to integrate and execute on AI internally, I think would be a fantastic exercise early in 2026. It doesn't have to take a lot of time, but you know what they say, like once you write it down, it's much more likely to happen and come true because it causes your brain to focus on it, and then it gives you an anchor to hang that on. All right. First quarter, CES, you're going to be at the NADA show. What else do you have in the works that you might want to share with us? Where are you going to be? What are you doing?
Lots of Las Vegas time, obviously. So luckily enough, I've got, I don't know how much I can divulge, but I've got a large luxury German automaker who has been kind enough to ask me to come to some of their quarterly dealer meetings, annual dealer meetings in the first quarter. So that'll be fun. And I look forward to talking to those segment of dealers. They're big, successful dealers. Many of the state associations I've got lined up too, and they've been kind enough. They're craving more information around this AI topic and how dealers should be internalizing this, et cetera. So I'll be traveling a lot for that. Not a lot of international trips yet this year, but as we were talking about before, I was 2 weeks ago, I was in Dubai for a week over there with Chip Perry and Brian Benstock, and we had 50 Russian dealers, the largest Russian dealers in the country. These 50 dealers represent a quarter of all cars sold in Russia. And we spent like 3 hours up on stage talking about how markets evolve, how AI is likely to affect dealers globally. And really fascinating, smart operators. Obviously, Russia itself, the economy is challenged right now, but really smart operators, great questions, and spent a lot of time there. So I hope that I'll be able to also sprinkle in some international trips, whether it's back to Kazakhstan, which I'm sure I'll get back to a couple times this year, where our biggest investors from. We now have the third largest dealer group in Mexico, who's one of our investors. So want to spend more time in the Mexican market. And while we were on this trip 2 weeks ago, we spoke to one of the largest dealers in Saudi, one of the largest dealers in Azerbaijan. So I'm hopeful that, 10%, 20% of my time can be done internationally, and we can start to be thought leaders in international markets as well as the US market.
That's right. I don't know a better way to orient toward 26 is like, we're going to be thought leaders everywhere. So Steve, thank you so much for bringing some of that thought leadership back to us, investing it in the community. And here's to an amazing 2026. It's going to be an amazing one.
Happy New Year's, guys.